Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If all I get's a moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. Cause lately I've been seeing stars, trying to kick out on this chokehold. But it's no holds barred, middle fingers like I'm Stone Cold.
And what is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, WeTooDeep, and we're back with another episode of the Slapping Meat Wrestling Podcast. We got a decent show for you. You know, if you haven't watched Tuesday's episode, go back and take that out. As we did the first Tuesday episode without Wavy D, and a series of two with him. You know, being gone for 2 weeks, and I hope you guys liked it. You know, it was shorter than usual, but there was also sort of like not as much conversation, right? And I know when I do like these raw reviews like that, you know, that's not my favorite thing in the world to do, but it is something that I do when Wavy D's here that draws conversation. He you know, Wavy D's really easy to work with because he has all these questions and thoughts that span conversation. So go back and check that out. Before we dive into what I got planned today to sort of rant on like my typical Friday rant, go to the WWE shop through the link in the description and go buy you some merch. You saw the Chase U shirt I had on Tuesday, which, by the way, recorded that before NXT, so I couldn't shout them out. But my boys, the Chase U, are your new NXT Tag Team Champions. But if you want to go get that Chase U shirt, maybe this new Oba Femi shirt, maybe the new OTC shirt for Roman Reigns, go through the link in the description. It'll support myself and Wavy D in this show by, you know, we get a small percentage of each purchase. Again, that link is the first link in the description. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, leave us a comment, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends who love wrestling, and if you're on Spotify, Google, I think it's on iHeartRadio, any of those sort of audio platforms, Apple Podcast, go ahead and follow or subscribe, whatever that individual platform's terminology is. Leave us a review, 5 stars if you love it, 1 star if you don't. We ain't want nothing in between. Don't be mediocre. You either hate it or you love it. 1 star, 5 star, right? And then finally, if you want to join the discourse, the conversation surrounding not just the Slapping Me Wrestling Podcast, but the Beyond the Junkyard podcast, which James and Cody do on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time live. Their YouTube link is in our description as well. That make it real easy for you to find it. But all of this you could find on our Discord page. That link is also in the description. Everything in the description, real easy for you to find. And so with that, let's dive on in to some of these topics that I want to discuss. And it's we're gonna start with when I planned this show, these were AEW was looking at running 2 stadium shows. But as I am recording it, one of the stadium shows is no longer looking to run, but have been confirmed to run. And that one is All In 2025 in Arlington, Texas, at the, I don't know the name of the Texas Rangers ballpark. I just call it the Texas Rangers ballpark. And so I don't actually hate this one. This is a good thing for them to do. Run a stadium show, do a test to see if you can manage a stadium in the United States. I know it's All In, and I know a lot of people that are sort of anti AEW are going to say, "See, we told you you couldn't resell Wembley. You've oversaturated the market." And I also think it's one of these things. If you consistently run the same event in the same venue, it does become oversaturated, and that's why WrestleMania moves around, and that's why they move these big PLEs to different locations, right? I think this is a good thing. Make All In sort of your WrestleMania of AEW and move that event around, and hit up some of these bigger market cities. So it's Arlington next year. Maybe do a Canada. I know that you'll do a Canada one eventually, right? Do All In Canada. Do All In Chicago. Do All In, um, in New York if you can manage it. Then you can go overseas as well, right? Because the second stadium show, and this is the bigger sort of question that I have, is Australia. So I have a thought and then a question. So let's do the question first. To the AEW lovers, do you think you can actually sell out Australia? I think you can, but this is where on rare occasions myself and Dave Meltzer will agree. And Dave Meltzer, for whatever reason, has become a little bit more fair and balanced when covering AEW, and has stated, even if they sell out Australia, WCW 2000 sold out Australia. And so selling out Australia doesn't mean the company is doing good. Guys, that's where I was last year at this time with Wembley. That's where I was a year ago. Why was I there? And what was my statement? Selling out Wembley, 80,000 in a stadium you've never been to. That doesn't mean the company is healthy, because your domestic product sucks. Your US based, right? That's why I always said, okay, cool. You put 80,000 in Wembley. Now go do it in the United States. Right? If they go to Australia, whether it's in Sydney or Brisbane or whatever of the cities it is, and you fill 40, 50, 60,000 people, now go do it in the United States. Right? And so I'm glad they're testing it with All In 2025. Now that also leads me to believe that there's probably a push. If you listen to Cody and James speak, yes, I didn't watch the whole episode, but I listened to some of it. And Cody was talking about, maybe part of the TV deal that may be announced at some point in the future. You would hope they would announce it here soon. Part of that deal may be to have ROH be sort of like a second brand of AEW, to where it's like AEW Dynamite and then AEW Ring of Honor. And so it sort of be like Raw Smackdown, which I think would be interesting. Get rid of Collision, get rid of Rampage maybe, and do that. I think that would be interesting. But I have a feeling that maybe Athena may be pushed a little bit more on TV if they're headed to Texas, because that's where she's from. Thunder Rosa's from there. Dustin Rhodes is from there. So I don't know. I find it interesting. Arlington's a good location for that, because I think that Texas market's one of their hottest markets for AEW. This Australia one confuses me. So my thought on this is that I originally had was AEW fans. James has been one of these as well from the Beyond the Junkyard podcast, right? He's been one of these guys, and I've seen him online as well, that are like, man, WWE only wanted to go to London because AEW did it first. And now I see that the market's hot, and now they're going to run Wembley. Listen, if that's your belief, you can have it. But let's just understand that WWE was going to run Wembley for the original Clash at the Castle, but they didn't offer as much as Wales. So they went to Wales because they made more money from it, right? But so let's just get that out of the way. But then secondly, like, can I not make that same argument here for Australia? And AEW, they had no plans to run Australia, but WWE did it this year and saw that it would work. So now, look, here's the thing. It was going to work no matter what company it was, because there's a scarcity of product in Australia. There's a scarcity of major promotion in Australia. So AEW comes over, it's going to sell out. WWE comes over, it's going to sell out. Right? That's just how this thing works. And so I'm not making the argument that AEW's like only doing this because of WWE. No, I'm making the argument is that your argument to make that WWE only wants to run Wembley because AEW did, it's just as ridiculous. It's just as ridiculous, and it's coming right back at you with the same level of ridiculousness, right? And so I'm assuming Tony Khan's been wanting to do this for a point of time, and maybe thinks this is the right time to try to do it. If he can accomplish it, that's fine. But I don't want people to see them sell out Australia and then assume AEW is a company that's healthy, because it's not, because the domestic product stinks, right? The domestic product is absolutely horrible, right? You can go overseas and run these tours, but if you come back and you notice in your home country, in your domestic, where 90% of your money's going to come from, right? You may make 10% of your yearly income running Wembley or running Australia, but 90% of your money is going to come from where? It's going to come from the American market, right? Unless you're like WWE now, which completely changed, and half of your PLEs are now overseas. So WWE now is catering to that international market, whereas AEW is not there yet, right? And even still, WWE's domestic product, if you were to compare the numbers, I think they've done 52 live event sellouts this year, 35 TV sellouts, I think 52 total live event sellouts, which I would assume include house shows and TV. So, that's a crazy amount of shows that have been completely sold out. And their domestic product still does very well. Whereas AEW, you look at their domestic product and they're struggling to get people in the doors. They're struggling to get people to watch the product live in the building, and the ratings are not, let's just be honest, the ratings are not where they should be. I don't care if this is where Warner Brothers comfortable being. We know you can hit 1 million and you're not there. So to me, that's an issue that needs to be fixed. I don't care if Warner Brothers says 750,000 is a good number to be at. We know in the past that you've consistently been at 900,000 to 1 million. We've seen it 2-3 years ago. We know you can do it. So why are we not striving for that? That would be my main concern. So a successful international trip for AEW, you sell out arenas, make a boatload of money. Well, then you turn right back around, you get on a plane, you fly back to the United States, and then realize your domestic product is not as good as it should be. And so there are things that AEW needs to work on to get better. Now, continuing the idea of AEW here for some other news, Tony Khan has decided to do something I've never seen before, and that is sponsor his own soccer team. It should have crossed my mind that Tony Khan would be the guy to do this, but AEW is now the official soccer team of the women's Fulham soccer or football club soccer team, which, if you don't know, Tony Khan owns Fulham. Now, I had an initial thought, and we'll get to that. Highly unlikely this is the case, but this was the initial thought that came to my mind. I have 3 possibilities. My first initial thought, the most unlikely, and then 2 others that are possible, with the third one that I'll explain to you being the most likely of the circumstances here. So the first thought that I had, and I want to preface this by saying I am not accusing Tony Khan of doing anything illegal. I don't think he is. This is just the first thought that I had as sort of like a quote unquote AEW hater, you know, and that is Tony Khan funneling money from AEW to Fulham and he's sort of funneling money and trying to, you know, skirt the law and he's money laundering. I don't believe he's doing that. I'm not accusing him of doing it. I don't have any evidence of it. It's just a joke. Please take it as just a joke. That was the first thought that I had. I mean, it's a very slim possibility that that's what he's doing, that he's into some shady shit. Wouldn't put it past any rich billionaire to do that. I highly doubt that's what he's doing, right? But it was the first thought that I had when I saw this, like, oh shit, right? So we'll get that joke out of the way, and then we'll talk about the two actual things that I believe are actual possibilities as to why Tony Khan is doing this. And so the first one is he's completely incompetent. And I say this, I don't own a business, but I know how marketing works. If I owned a soccer team and own a wrestling promotion, I need y'all to understand, right? Soccer team's main sponsorship, that's their number one sponsorship, right? That goes on the jersey. Because of that, the front of the jersey is prime real estate to make your team money. So if I owned a team, I want whoever's going to pay me the most. Hey, if you pay for this spot right now, I have a little bit of experience negotiating something like this because when I worked, I'm not going to name the company that I worked for, but one of the first storage companies that I worked for was a little bit more mom and pop, sort of grassroots marketing. And I went to get prices, or I went to get an idea of how much it would cost to submit to the corporate office, the marketing team, how much it might cost to sponsor the Charlotte Checkers and put our banner, because I have this idea that in business, you know, the traditional in the business that it was a self-storage center, right? And that's about as much detail as I'll give you about that company. But my mind process was, everyone else is doing door-to-door, handing out flyers at apartment complexes and stuff. Let's do something different. Let's put our logo in a sports arena that's going to be seen by well over 100,000, 200,000 people during the hockey season, right? It's an arena that Tony Khan's run in the past. It's an arena that does arena football, ice hockey, monster trucks, concerts, right? And that banner stays up for a full 365 days. And then you have to renew it, and then it stays up, right? So I feel like it's a good deal because you're running a shit ton of shit in this building. You may be seen by well over 1 million people. And so I went in and I listened to the pitches and said, hey, yeah, submit me your pricing. And that's how this thing works. And just to put a banner in the roof, in the rafters, $2,000-3,000, right? So this is money, right? Now imagine having prime real estate of you're going to be on our jersey. So you're going to be seen by every single person that is in the arena. You're going to be seen when we sell jerseys, right? Because soccer teams sell merchandise and they put the sponsors on the jersey. So when we sell them, you're going to be sponsored that way, right there. Prime real estate to make some sort of revenue for the Fulham women's soccer team. Now, I don't know if it's the men's team as well or just the female team, but Tony Khan had this prime real estate to market, or not to market, but to bring in money for that soccer team. And instead, he puts in his own team. Now, I want to know how this works. Does AEW as a company have to pay Fulham for that spot, or did Tony Khan just slap his company on there and said, yeah, we're not going to make sponsorship money for any of this, with the hope that people tune in to watch AEW, and maybe that's how he makes some sort of money back. But Fulham's still going to take a loss, right? I don't know. I don't know the details, the logistics of how this thing works. I just think it's a little bit incompetent to sit here and be, I'm going to sponsor myself. I don't mind if he promotes AEW like in the arena, but on the jersey, like I know this is prime real estate, right? It would be crazy, like basketball now. NBA allows you to have the little patch on the jersey here on the opposite side of the Nike logo, right? And like if Mark Cuban, who owns the Mavericks, right? I think they're sponsored by Chime, if I remember. If he replaced that with name any company that Mark Cuban owns, or has invested in, and he just said, hey guys, yeah, I'm gonna take a company that I own, so he owns he's co-owner of 2929 Entertainment, or 2929 Entertainment. He who they do movies and stuff like that. So if he said, you know what? Oh, that's Access TV. Okay, that's even a better example. That's even a better example, because it's very similar, because Access TV is majority owned by Anthem, right? And then Mark Cuban has like a part ownership in it as well, right? And so guess what? So what if Mark Cuban says, hey guys, I know we're making money with the Chime sponsorship, but I'm gonna put TNA's logo, because I partly own that company. I'm gonna just slap TNA's logo on there. They can't pay for it, but I want to promote TNA. If Mark Cuban do that, you would laugh him out of the building. You would laugh him out of the building, because that's money that he's making with the sponsorship he already has, right? So why are we not laughing Tony Khan out of the building here? I don't know if he's making money with the deal. I don't know how that's all working. I don't know the logistics, but I just can't imagine that he's paying himself for sponsorship. I just think it's a crazy level of incompetence. But I think the most likely is my third thought. He just doesn't give a fuck. It's not that he's incompetent. He just doesn't care. This is a dude who's been given everything in life. And I'm not like a lot of people are like, well, you're just jealous that he would. No. He's never had to work a day in it. Like, can you think about I was thinking about this the other day in preparation for this topic. His dad, Shad, came over. I'm pretty sure he's originally from Pakistan. And either that or like his parents came over. So either Tony's grandparents or Tony's dad himself, either Shad himself or Shad's parents came over as like first generation trying to build the American dream. And Shad got there. Shad put in and busted his ass to become one of the top 50 wealthiest people in the world. And he has a son, Tony, who is given everything in life. And I'm not saying Tony's never had to work. Tony works like 8 jobs, and he's not good at any of them. From the outside looking in, right? The Jaguars are still a mess. The Fulham fans absolutely despise him from what I've seen on the internet. AEW's not really running all that well, and that's where he spends a lot of his time, right? And so this is a dude who's just sort of like, yeah, we're gonna buy you a team. I'm just gonna buy you a team to make you happy, and you're gonna have to run it, right? Or I'm gonna let you have the sandbox known as AEW, and you're gonna have to run it and maybe try to make a profit, Tony. I'm not saying Tony doesn't know how to do work, but this dude was just handed things. And I feel like because he's never had the struggle in life, he doesn't understand what he has. And I feel like there's people who have tried to build wrestling promotions who are 1,000 times better at booking and 1,000 times better at the world of wrestling, that just never had the funding, that if they had Tony Khan's funding would make something out of it. And Tony Khan's just sort of doing what he wants to do, not really caring about the consequences of certain business decisions that he makes, because he doesn't have to, because Shad's there to sort of bankroll and cover it up. And that's where, I think about this, like, and I'm not saying this is anything negative in this, but like Tony Khan, like, is where as far as I understand, that's where like the legacy stops. Right? Shad busted his ass to become the 50th or top 50 wealthiest people in the world. And as far as I know, Tony's his only child, and Tony doesn't have any kids. So okay, so he has 2 children. So he has another child. Okay. So Shad does have another, but I don't know who the other one is. But let's just think about, like, it could end with Shad being wealthy and his kids. I don't know who his other child is, but like Tony Khan could be the end of the line for that legacy and all of that work Shad put in to be the richest man of Pakistan origin of all time. And that just sort of dies with Tony Khan. That's a sad thing, man. Right? That's a sad thing. That's kind of the way our culture's headed anyway, though. Like, people have worked their life to leave legacy and for grandchildren and great grandchildren, and now we're in this generation where they're not even planning for the future. It's really hard to plan for the future. I don't want to get into like this type of discourse, but we aren't legacy builders anymore in this country. We only think about our generation, and we're going to let the future figure it out itself out. And 100 years ago, they were planning for 100 years in the future to leave a legacy for their children, grandchildren, great grandchildren. And now we're here, and we're just sort of we don't really have much. And some people's like family lineage in line are dying because people aren't having kids to keep supplying that. Right. That's just a thought that I had in this, is that Shad put in all this work, and Tony may literally not only kill AEW, not only kill New Japan in his quest to try to be at the top, but he could potentially kill the Khan family name and end the legacy, because he's, as far as I know, he's not married and he has no children. Right? And so all of this hard work, Tony, what's it for? All of this money, Tony, what's it for? If you're just going to end the family lineage, right? That's just a thought that I had in doing this. But yeah, I just think it's a whole idea of Tony Khan doesn't care. And he's never had to have a reason to care. And he's right. And you could tell by the way he reacts when people shit talk him that he's never been told no. He's never had to deal with people not liking him, because everyone he's ever been around, he has either faked liked him because of who his dad is, or maybe he's like, hey man, how you doing here? Let me help you out here. Maybe he's charitable and people just like him because he has money. Right? That's a sad state of life to be in, right? But I don't think he's ever had really people tell him no. I don't really think he's ever had people hate him for and it's not that we really necessarily hate him. It's just like, bro, I don't think he has ever had people sort of like fight back against what he's doing and tell him what to do. And I think it's always just been, Tony, figure this out. I don't know. I'm spitballing at this point. I don't know at this point. So before I get accused of making shit up, and Tony Khan, starts talking about WWE bots and all this thing again. We're gonna do one more topic on AEW real quick before we get to the meat and potatoes of this episode, and that is my man Bully Ray, who I will get to meet at a meet and greet in 9 days. So next Sunday, not the Sunday coming up, but the Sunday after, I'll get to meet Bully Ray, which is cool. But this man, he went on Busted Open, and or no, he went on Twitter. It's a tweet. It was a tweet that he posted. He said, "Hi AEW, please position your World Heavyweight Champion more prominently. It looks like he's just another wrestler and just another match on this poster. Also, World Heavyweight Champion, that's in all caps, by the way, should be in a larger, bold font." So I'm assuming speaking of the poster for All In. Perception. Again, all capitals, perception. As always, just trying to help Uncle Bully. Yeah, there's nothing he said here that's necessarily wrong. Swerve is your world champion, and you sort of just treat him like another one of the guys. And he's wrestling and doing all these matches that most people don't care about. And he's fighting Bryan Danielson, but he seems to be sort of just overshadowed by what is really the larger match, and that's Ospreay and MJF. And this is why I always assumed that Ospreay and Swerve would be the big match here, or that Ospreay would have won the title at some point in the build to this to make the World Heavyweight Championship the premier thing on the card. Right? When WWE went into SummerSlam, their two biggest matches were what? On this card were what? Solo versus Cody, Gunther versus Priest. And they had the World Heavyweight Championship, right? Now they had other matches in between that people cared about, but the premier match, the match that took up the poster space, right? That people came to watch to see how really the debut of the tribal, or the return of the tribal chief. But people paid to see that world heavy, or the World Heavyweight Championship and the Universal Championship at SummerSlam, right? People, I haven't seen a lot of interest or intrigue in Swerve versus Bryan Danielson. And it's one of those things where like it's overshadowed by Ospreay MJF, and it just feels like Swerve is being on the back burner. And so I 100% agree with Bully Ray here. You gotta give your world heavy, either take it off of Swerve and then put it on someone that's a bigger name that you can present or just book Swerve to be better than what you're booking him, because you're booking him as if he's just another one of the dudes. But just another one of the dudes has the world championship, and he should be prominently displayed, because the way you've booked him, that perception is he's not really all that important. So yeah, Bully Ray's spot on here. So let's get to the meat and potatoes of this episode. The title of this is Ranking WWE Women's Division. And it may be confusing, but you're about to figure out what I mean by that. And now I also want to include, we're going to be ranking the AEW Women's Division as well. And by ranking, I mean tier ranking via attractiveness. Now, let me preface this before I pull this. So I've already completed the tier makers. We're not going to do that live. I've already completed the tier makers. I'm going to put them up on the screen here in a minute, and we're going to talk about each individual brand. So let's fill in the backstory. The backstory to this is in the Casual Wrestling Community Discord page. I posted something of sort of like a question, like Maxine Dupree or Liv Morgan, and everyone was talking about Liv Morgan being the one they would pick, right? And I was sort of the only one there defending Maxine. And so Wavy D said, I can name 5 superstars that are more attractive than Maxine Dupree. And I'm sitting there, I was like, I don't think you logistically can. He said 5 more superstars on the Raw roster. I can name 5 superstars on the main roster that are more attractive than Maxine. And I said, I don't think you can. I don't think there's 5 on the Raw roster. We're just talking Raw, right? And he was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I don't think you can. Now I'm gonna have a hot take here in a minute at the very end when I'm done doing this. So how I did this was we had this whole discussion in the Discord, right? And so I said, you know what? Let's make a tier maker. Let's rank this out, right? And so I personally created a tier maker for the Raw roster. Then I thought about it and said, well, let's do SmackDown. And then I got into it of like, well, let's do NXT. And then I was like, well, let's do AEW as well. So you can go on tiermaker.com, search for WeTooDeep 413, or just search like rank Raw women's roster, SmackDown women's roster. Click on the one, scroll down to see the creator. And if it's WeTooDeep 413, that's mine. Now the AEW one and a couple pictures throughout have like faces chopped off. The AEW one is the worst because of the way they format the pictures. We'll go through each one. Now, here's what I also did, just so you guys know. Not only did I put them in tiers, but I ranked them in the tiers. So they're sort of in order of how I would assume attractiveness for the roster, right? And so we're going to go Raw, then SmackDown, then NXT, and then we'll end with AEW's women's roster, and then we'll do a react to that, and then we'll move. That's how we'll end today's episode. So let me go ahead and pull this up here on the screen. We'll start with the first one, just sort of formatting of how this thing works. There we go. So we have D tier at the bottom. That's just ugly, right? C tier is cute. B tier is I said you're beautiful, right? There's different levels to this, right? Beautiful. A is, damn, you fine. And then S is like you a smoke show. You the hottest of the hot, right? And so we're going to start with D tier, and we'll start from who I think is the least attractive, and we'll essentially work our way up. So D tier. At the very back of the list, Zoe Stark. I don't understand what anybody finds attractive about Zoe Stark. Now, I want to preface this before we get too deep. Attraction is subjective. What you find attractive may not be what I find attractive. But yeah, it just, you may, right. And I also want to talk about, and we'll talk about this a little bit later throughout the list. There are certain things that people get knocked down for in this list. So let me talk about what I find attractive then. That way you can have a preface as we go into this. I'm not the standard, like, normal, typical dude. Like, if you ask a normal dude on the street what he finds attractive, the two main answers, boobs and butt, right? Those are great body parts. Those are great. Not the number one consideration for me in terms of level of attractiveness, because all women have boobs, all women have butts. That doesn't make you unique, right? I'm going to sit here and say boobs are a great thing, but everyone has them. Bronson Reed has them. That doesn't mean that I'm oogling over Bronson Reed, right? You see, so they're nothing special. At the end of the day, they're just sacks of fat. The only purpose is to feed their children when they're pregnant, right? Outside of, if you're not pregnant or you're not nursing a child, your boobs have literally zero purpose. They are just sacks of fat, right? And as for like butt, yeah, butts are nice. 100% agree with you. But again, I look a little bit more into, I'm a little bit weird with this one. The voice, your voice, if you have a really nice voice, I don't even have to see what you look like. If you have a nice voice that's attractive to me, right? Right. Legs, especially, like, so height is a thing to me. Like, I'm attracted to two types of women. Short women, which to me is 5'3" and shorter, or tall women, which I would attribute to 5'7" or higher. Anything in between is what would be considered average. That's, 40, 50, 60% of women are between 5'4" and 5'6". And you're normal. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no one in that range that I don't find attractive. Certain there is. But you gain points if you're taller or shorter. Short girls are crazy. typically, but it makes you a little bit more unique, right? So voice, height, and with the taller girls, that means you have longer legs. And then I like more athletically toned women, which is quite ironic looking at me because they don't like my type, kind of, for the most part, right? So that's the situation that we in. But so now we can continue down this list, right? Obviously, Zoe Stark fits nothing that's attractive to me. In fact, I look at her and I just the opposite feeling of attraction happens when I see Zoe Stark. The same thing happens when I see Shayna Baszler. And the cool thing about Shayna Baszler is she's not trying to be attractive to me, right? Now, a lot of this, I believe, is also because my number one thing, femininity. Yeah, in this culture, that's offensive to say that femininity, true femininity, is attractive because Shayna Baszler acts super masculine, and if I wanted to be attracted to masculine people, I'd be attracted to men, and I'm not, right? And that's offensive to say in this culture, but that's just how it is. The more you'll notice that a lot of the women in the D and C tiers that act a little bit more masculine, that's what got them down, right? So Shayna, Zoe, their characters and gimmicks and everything that I've seen them in, they're trying to be like that badass, like, and it's like that masculine character, right? And I'm not all for that. And then they may be feminine outside of wrestling, but I don't see a lot of that of them in particular. So, right, and there's one in particular that I'll talk about on this list of that whole thing here, right? Moving down, Alba Fire. I just don't find her attractive. And she's one of the ones. So when I mention voice, like accent is part of the voice. If you have an accent, especially if it's Australian, or like British, Irish, I'm all in it. I'm all for that, right? Accent is right. We'll move forward. Asuka, she's just, just not my thing. Just not my thing. Kaden Carter, same thing. Not really my thing. Like, she's average in every sense of the term to me and not very attractive. Other than Natalia. Natalia would be a B tier if she didn't have all that fucking plastic inserted into her skin. Right? I'll be completely honest with you. She did not have as much plastic surgery if she's had. Natalia was kind of attractive. Right? But she 100% fake, it feels like. And like to the point where like a lot of times her face doesn't move. I don't know. It's just, I don't find that attractive. So we'll move up to the B tier. Kairi Sane and Io Sky. Just, they're cute, but they're nothing like super attractive to me, right? As you can see, and you'll continually see, I don't have a thing for Asians. I don't. I just don't. Right. So let's get to the first one of the people on this list that are going to kill me, that you guys are going to crucify me for. And that's Liv Morgan being C tier. Now, number one, she's 100% average in every category to me. I don't think her looks are all that impressive. She's short. She's like that average height that I said that I'm not attracted to. Her voice is mad annoying, and she's not athletic at all. Right now, and I said this on two Thursdays ago, or maybe it's been 3 at this point. So it wasn't yesterday. It wasn't the week before. It was the week before all of that. So 3 Thursdays ago. I was on the Casual Wrestling Community Show with Nerdy D, and Wavy D was there as well, and we were ranking Liv Morgan. And I said that Liv Morgan and how she looks, there's about 1 million of them down in the South. I can find a Liv Morgan at any bar. If I went into any bar in the South, I would find a Liv Morgan, right? And so for me, that's just, I'm not saying that she's not attractive. Liv Morgan's cute. That's why she's in the cute category. But she's not unique. There's nothing about her that I can't find anywhere else. And in terms of what I would deem attractive. She's not athletic at all. She's mid height, mid attract. Like, she doesn't have the butt boobs either for guys to oogle over, right? And to get the butt that we saw in that picture in that promo with Dominic, she was on her tiptoes because she's short and she doesn't actually have it, and she has to dress in a way to make it look like she has it, but she doesn't, right? Next on the list is Katana Chance, or her real name that I still kind of call her by, Casey Catanzaro. I'll be honest with you, had a major crush. See, here's the thing with this. Anything above D tier, C tier, B tier, A tier, S tier, this is all crush worthy to me. So I'm not saying you're like, right. And so like I've had a crush on Casey Catanzaro before. Like, she's the whole reason I watched American Ninja Warrior for like 4 years straight, trying to see if she can complete the damn thing. She's the only reason I watched that show. And now that she's not there, I don't watch it anymore, right? She was the whole reason I watched American Ninja Warrior, right? Casey Canzaro's cute. She's just not anything else that I would be attracted to, right? And her voice is kind of annoying, not really. She doesn't talk enough for me to actually know. I think a lot of it is the presentation of her gimmick. I think it's real childish and stupid. But yeah, so Casey Catanzaro in this category. Sonya Deville, another one you're probably going to crucify me for. This is another one where I've seen her in a feminine side, but that's not how she traditionally acts. She's more masculine. And that's what I think of when I see her, is even when she is in her feminine, like she does photo shoots where it's just like a sports coat and nothing else underneath of it. And it's supposed to be super feminine. But like most women don't wear sports coats or like tux jackets. She dresses masculine. And again, that's her thing. No judgment for her, just not attractive to me. Right. And so if you find her attractive, that's on you. Right. We'll move on to the B tier, what I would call the beautiful tier, right? Isla Dawn. I'm be honest with you, she could be in the C tier, but it's the Irish accent. 100% the Irish accent, because there's really nothing else here. She's not athletic. She's, in terms of build, she's not super tall or super short, right? In terms of height and the voice, really, it's the accent. So that's what bumped her up here. Let's just be completely honest. Jackie Redmond, in terms of announcers, not even the finest one. We'll get to that through in the other part of the list here. Jackie Redmond, she's okay. I don't necessarily, I'll be honest with you, it's the face. Her face isn't the most attractive to look at times. I'll just be honest with you. We'll move forward. Zelina, so she has like the short factor. That's what she's up here for. She's C tier if she's 4 inches taller. Plus she's Latina, and I like Latinas. Like, you'll notice on this as we go through, I like blondes and Latinas, right? And then people with Australian accents or British accents, right? For the most part. So Selena gets bumped up just a little bit because of that, and she is attractive, but I don't think she's like the all that of all that, right? A lot of it is also because she cosplays, and I hate cosplaying. I just absolutely despise it. I think it's ridiculous. I don't understand that subculture. It's not for me to understand. It's not for me. And I don't understand it, right? So we'll move forward to Scarlett at B tier. I know a lot of people let me just be honest with you. The people who put Scarlett A tier or S tier are only there because only put her there because she has boobs. And like I just said at the beginning of this, I'm not that much of a boob dude. I'm just not. I look at them and I look like, okay, they're cool. And I'm sure like in the male brain, they are sexually stimulating. But 99% of the time, they're just doing nothing. Right. And so I have a rule. If it's more than a handful, it's too much. That's how I look at it. And that's what people see when they see Scarlett. She dresses in a way to make it look like she has an ass. and she has boobs, and I'm pretty sure she's fake. Not that that's a problem, but you see what I'm saying, right? So I don't find that attractive. Lyra Valkyria, and by the way, that Zelina, excuse me, Jackie Redmond would start the top 10 of my list. So Zelina's 9, 8 is Scarlett. So number 7 would be Lyra Valkyria. I would also like to mention this is of active wrestlers as of Monday the 13th. And so, we're missing Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss here, which would be I'm just gonna go ahead and put them here. Becky and Alexa would be A tier. And so that's the only change that would happen is you would have Zelina and 11, right? So Scarlett would start the top 10 in that point. And that you see what I'm saying? If those two were on this list. But let's go back to Lyra. Finish off B tier real quick. Lyra Valkyria. She's got standard height and not necessarily athletic. It's the accent, and she does act super feminine, and that's wildly. You don't understand how wildly attracted I am to feminine women who don't try to act masculine, right? And that's what I see in Lyra sometimes. Move up to A tier. This is where y'all are really gonna hate me. Ivy Nile in the top 10, 6th place. It is because she's the one that I was talking about, that her character on WWE TV, they have her dressed up super mask with the braids. She's like the UFC style, like MMA type fighter, the chains and all of that. And it's a cool gimmick. But what I need y'all to do is do your research, Ivy Nile, and find the picture of her in the bikini suit. Photo shoot, excuse me, the photo shoot of her on the beach in the bikini. Her hair's down. She's got like normal make. A lot of this also is the WWE makeup. That's how WWE does their makeup has really affected how I view some of these women, right? And so, but she has like normal makeup on. She's on the beach. She looks uber feminine. And now femininity doesn't mean you can't be strong, right? Because she's built, right? But it's just like hair down. You could tell she's proud of who she is as a woman, and she doesn't feel like the picture that I have on this tier list. If this was how she was 99% of the time, she'd probably be D tier. I'll be completely honest. But I've seen her in a more in a more feminine look outside of this gimmick, and she's a smoke show, dude. She's like, I contemplated pissing y'all off a little more and putting her in S tier, but I just couldn't put her above the top 5, right? So now we get to our top 5, or my top 5. Rhea Ripley, 5th place. And let me tell you if this was 2017 Rhea Ripley, blonde, long hair Rhea Ripley, she's number 1 automatically. What Rhea Ripley has done is, one, in transforming her look, she's become unique. So I understand why she did it. She didn't want to be Charlotte Flair. And if she's happy with the way she looks, that's all that matters. But for me, the goth look is fine. And you'll notice in my NXT list that I like the goth look. And that's just the sort of teaser if you know the NXT roster. But it's all the tattoos. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Tattoos in moderation are attractive. But Rhea Ripley's tattooed in places I don't find attractive. Like the stomach tattoos, I don't find that attractive. The leg tattoos, like having like the whole legs tatted, I'm not attracted to that. And so yeah, that she's like, I know what she looks like, and she's mad cute, and she's taller. She's got a butt, which if I had to choose between boobs or butt, it would be butt, right? And yeah, so it would be Rhea Ripley, 5th place. Sam Irvin, 4th place, without a doubt. 4th place. She has to be top 5. I don't think she's S tier though. I think she's mad fine, but I don't think she's S tier. So let's get up to this S tier. Kiana James, someone we haven't seen on TV in a while. But when I described what I like tall, because I would prefer tall over short. So I would prefer over 5'7". Tall, athletic build, uber feminine. Who does that tell you? Who that is quintessentially Kiana James. That's exactly Kiana James. What really sort of knocks her down over the other two is, let's just go ahead and go to number 2, Dakota Kai, where she's not tall, but she makes up in that she has I'm a face person as well. Like there's other physical characteristics that I look for. It's the Australian accent. It's the uber like cute face that she has. Yeah, so Dakota Kai number 2, but number 1, Maxine. This is where the whole argument that caused this to happen was, Liv or Maxine, and I'm going to defend Maxine, and I'll be honest with you, she's not number 1 solely because I want to try to prove a point here. That's not the case. She's number 1 because I actually think she is the most attractive woman on the Raw roster. In what I label attractiveness. She's tall. She's like 5'8". She's lean waisted, which I find uber attractive. Like long legs, skinny waist. Blonde. Like I said, I had a thing for blonde. And she has a face that I find uber cute, and her voice is uber beautiful. Like if I heard Maxine on the phone talking to me, like, yeah, she's attractive, right? So there's my Raw list. Let's go ahead and skip on over here to the SmackDown list. Now, there's less SmackDown superstars. As you notice, like Charlotte's not on here either. So we'll go down to D tier. Nia Piper, I think, is self-explanatory. Tegan would be C tier if it wasn't for the hair. I don't like the rainbow hair. If it's like NXT Tegan Knox, she would be C tier. And I don't find Candice LeRae. Candice LeRae is literally Liv Morgan, but more basic, right? In terms of like Liv at least has like a confidence to her of I'm sexy, right? Or Pixie over here, Candice LeRae is just like the definition of mid, but even like worse than mid. So we go up to C tier. You get Naomi. You get B-Fab. You get Alicia Taylor. I just find they're cute. I've had a crush on Naomi. I think B-Fab is attractive. I think Alicia Taylor's is more so just her crazy hairstyles, right? But the picture she's in there is actually kind of cute. But her crazy hairstyles sometimes really just mess with me. B tier, this is your beautiful tier, right? Electra Lopez and Bailey. I find Bailey to be like pretty mid. She has a butt, but that's about it. Her voice is kind of annoying to me. I'm not a fan of the Karen haircut, and so that really has ruined it. Like Hugger Bailey probably would be up in the A's, to be honest. So my A tier is and this on the SmackDown roster, we're already in the top 10 because there's only like 16 women. But Indy Hartwell will take up the 7th place spot. Taller, as the Australian accent, that really helps. And I do find her attractive to look at, to be honest. Chelsea Green takes up that 6th place spot for obvious reasons. Blair Davenport is secretly like she if WWE presented her in the way this picture has her presented, I think she'd be a little bit more liked, and I think she should be a little bit more face, like a face, or to be honest, because she plays like, I don't know. Blair Davenport's attractive. She really is. And then Tiffany Stratton, 4th place. I'll tell you this: Tiffany Stratton pre-boob job, I think would be on my S tier. I think I understand why she did it, and she says she did it for herself, not just career advancement, but because she wanted to feel good about herself. And again, that's her prerogative. Do whatever you want to do. But I don't know. I don't necessarily like I said, I like the more athletically like toned. Like there's a reason why like women's basketball players are mad attractive to me. Like Caitlin Clark, Cameron Brink are mad attractive to me because they're feminine and they're feminine, but they like I said, if it's more than a handful, it's too much to me, right? But if she's happy with it, then have it. S tier for SmackDown here, the smoke shows here. Jade Cargill, tall, athletic, somewhat like just perfection to me, right? Like if there was like just right, but then a little bit above it, Bianca Belair, because Jade, I would knock her off behind Bianca Belair. Is Jade's a little bit too chiseled for me, a little bit too She-Hulk for me, whereas when I described my ideal woman, nice voice, taller, athletic, toned, it's Bianca Belair, right? But number one has to be Kathy Kelly. She was one of the ones when I added the picture. Unfortunately, it chopped off her face, because that's one of her finer features. She has a nice face, nice voice, attractive as hell. Kathy Kelly is the most attractive person on SmackDown. With Bianca, a close second. Like it maybe even a tie, right? But let's move on to my favorite brand, which is NXT. And there's a lot of women here. Now, I didn't use the whole NXT roster, just like I didn't use the whole AEW roster to follow this. But let's go through this real quick. Nikita Lyons, just honestly fire her. She's always hurt. A lot of people just found her attractive because of the way she dressed. And I fell into this category when she debuted as well. She had that finisher where she was basically sitting on people's faces and everyone was just wildly attracted to her. But now, like at one point, she may have been like top 5, but now you got all these women in NXT that while you've been sitting at home nursing leg injuries, and Shawn Michaels, I said this last Friday or on Tuesday, Shawn Michaels be finding the secret path to find women, and he needs to share the directions. So yeah, Nikita Lyons, just I don't even think about her anymore. It's how much I care about her. I just right. Gigi Dolan. Again, I think a lot of people just find her attractive because she has a big butt, and it is what that is. Ava, we gotta count Ava. She's on the roster. She's a member of the NXT team. She would be C tier, but she just doesn't. Her face. It's her face, and it's really her mouth. She has like a lisp or something, and it really messes with me whenever she's on TV, to be honest with you. But we'll move up. C tier. Red shirt here. That's Kelly Kincaid. She's the backstage announcer. And she, when I first saw her, like, because they replaced Mackenzie Mitchell, which if Mackenzie Mitchell was on this list, she would be A tier. But they replaced her with Kelly Kincaid, and I was like, I don't like this. But she's grown on me here recently. So she's cute. Danny Palmer is the next one. Haven't really seen her on TV a lot. She's pretty mid to me. Nothing real special, in my opinion. Girl next to her is Sarah Schreiber, another interviewer or backstage interviewer. Pretty mid as well, right? You got Kendall Gray here. Kendall Gray is gonna have to grow on me, and she may potentially be like, but I think her thing is I think she's a cheerleader, and I don't have a thing for cheerleaders. I find cheerleaders a little bitchy, to be honest with you. Roxanne Perez is next, as well as Lola Vice. Kind of the same thing to me. I think they're overhyped in terms of attractiveness. Lola more so because she shakes them hips and she has a large butt. And again, I'm not necessarily attracted to that. And then the end of the C tier, the top of the C tier is Carly Bright. Again, probably because she's a cheerleader. B tier, Lash Legend here. Just her voice sometimes can get annoying, and that's what really knocked her down. I'll be honest with you. It's because she'll be like skirt, and it's just something that's it's annoying sometimes. And we got Adriana Rizzo. You know, she plays the Italian gimmick well. She's not necessarily the most attractive, but yeah, she's beautiful. The next beside her, Stevie Turner, which at her debut late last year would probably be C tier, but she's been playing like this sort of assistant GM role where she's dressing up a little bit more, being a little bit more feminine, right? And that's kind of mad attractive. Next beside her, kind of a bad picture to be honest, is Ren Sinclair. But I had to do the best that I can do with, transparent backgrounds because there's not a lot of her because she's newer to the wrestling world. But Ren Sinclair, mad attractive. She'll jump up the list. Probably. I'll be honest with you. You got Ariana Grace. She's my definition of like just above mid. I think she's pretty attractive. Yeah, if she's a pageant model, she's going to be up here. Like she's attractive, right? Then Kalani Jordan in the B tier to top that one off there. All right, so we're looking at 12th place, Brinley Reese. If Brinley Reese was like 4 inches taller, she would be S tier. Got a nice face, nice gimmick, looks good, athletic. But if she was like 4 inches taller, Brinley Reese would be S tier. Fallon Henley's in the 11th spot. And it's crazy because she's one of my favorites on the roster. But when you look at like when we're ranking off of attractiveness, right? We move into the top 10. You got JC Jane, right? Thea Hale's 9th place. Again, if Thea was 4 or 5 inches taller, she'd probably be S tier. I'll be honest with you. Cora Jade is A tier. She's in the 8th place. I think she's one of the ones that what I mentioned with Tiffany, where I didn't think Tiffany needed it, the boob job to get over. I think Cora did, because what Cora did was make herself attractive. Like, let's just be honest, she was not attractive post or pre-surgery. She was very, very mid. She would probably be C tier. And she didn't do something that was like over the top, right? She made herself look pretty natural, even though we know it's plastic surgery, right? 7th place is Jada Parker. 6th place is Sol Ruka, who might this one was hard not to put her S tier, but she's fine. She's just not the most attractive. And let me tell you what it is. Same thing with Rhea. That tattoo down her arm just throws me off every time. Right? 5th place, top 5 here in NXT, Carmen Petrovic. And she was almost S tier. Almost made her S tier. We move up. 4th place is Jasmine Nix, and it's self-explanatory. 3rd place is Jakara Jackson. I don't know what it is, but Jakara Jackson is fine. Like, smoke show. Like, put her on posters, sell, and I think she sells. Izzy Dame, surprisingly, is number 2 to me. I didn't think, like, when I was contemplating this, like, Izzy Dame was not one. I figured she would be like A or S, but I didn't think she would be like top 5. But Izzy Dame here recently just, yeah, her when she debuted, wasn't necessarily a fan of her, but as they've portrayed her more and as I've done more research on her, yeah, Izzy Dame top 2, and the number 1. This is what I was talking about when I said with Rhea that I like the goth gimmick. The goth girls are not ugly like some people would say they are. Tatum Paxley's number 1 on NXT to me. And she plays the goth gimmick very well, and she looks mad attractive doing it. But you know what she does? You know why she's higher than Rhea would be? She doesn't have the tattoos everywhere that sort of, I'm just not a big fan of tattoos. I'll be honest with you. I think tattoos done in moderation are fine. I just, when, right, Tatum, like, is more attractive to me, to be in all honesty. So let's wrap this thing up. Imagine this your first episode of this show, and this is what you get. This is what you get, the entertainment level of the wrestling world. That's I'm sure there's someone in the dark corners. Oh, you sexualizing women. Look, quiet yourself. This show isn't for you. Let's end this thing with the AEW roster, and I didn't take all of them because that would be a million people. And so we'll just go through this real quick. Athena is last place. I'm just be honest with it's. I just don't find Athena. I've never found her attractive. Next is Serena Deeb. Again, just I don't know. Hikaru Shida is next. The next one after her is going to get me in trouble with a lot of the IWC and AEW fans. Mercedes Moné. Not attractive. Her voice is annoying. Her ego is annoying. I don't necessarily think she's all attractive. You know, I've seen what she looks like without the wig on. She got that big ass forehead. So yeah, Mercedes Moné is not attractive to me. Sorry. Camille, not attractive. Ruby Riott, all them tattoos. I'm telling you. Not granted, she would still probably be D tier without the tattoos because she's not necessarily the most attractive thing to look at. But the tattoos don't help. Go up to C tier, Toni Storm. I just don't necessarily. I don't know. Just don't find her attractive. The one here, this is the worst of the face cut off because you can't really tell who it is. It's Saraya though. And yeah, Saraya just no. Her voice is annoying. She's one of the Australian or British accents that I find absolutely annoying. Like Toni Storm's accent is cute, right? But Saraya's is annoying. Thunder Rosa in front of her, Kiera Hogan, and then Willow Nightingale to finish out the C tier. B tier, Sky Blue. And she's beautiful. I don't necessarily find her the most attractive thing in the world. So now entering our top 10, Julia Hart. If Julia was a little bit taller, probably be A tier. Be honest with you. Next is Harley Cameron. And yeah, so we'll move up to A tier. We got Red Velvet at A tier, sitting up at 9th place here. Red Velvet, I've sat here and said, you know, Red Velvet should be booked a lot better than how she's being booked. She should be a feature. She's mad cute, mad attractive to look at. Right in front of her is Tay Conti. Here's a crazy thing: 2019 AEW, Tay Conti's number 1. Had a massive crush on Tay Conti. Like I'm not even kidding. Next is Anna Jay. Then is Deonna Purrazzo in the 5th spot, which you guys should have figured she'd make my top 5. 4th is Mariah May. Mariah May is going to be knocked down. I know a lot of people may have her, you know, top 2, top 3. Mariah May to me is similar to Liv Morgan in that if I go into any bar in the South, I'll find a Mariah May, right? Where she's better than Liv Morgan is, and why she's higher up is, one, the AEW roster is less attractive as a whole than the Raw roster is. So like Liv Morgan C tier solely because there's a lot more attractive women on the roster. Whereas I feel with Mariah May, like if Mariah May was on Raw, she's B tier, C tier, right? Because there's a lot more attractive women on the Raw roster, right? But with the roster she has, she's A tier. She's number 4. Number 3 to me is Chris Statlander. I don't know what it is about her, but I just find Chris Statlander. She's tall, not necessarily athletically toned, but I really don't know what it is. But every time she's on, like when I watch AEW, she's who I want to see. Number 2 is someone we haven't seen in a while. Hopefully we see it all in. It's Jamie Hayter. Because when she comes back, she will be the one. Her and Chris will be the ones that I want to see. And without a doubt, if you're dumb if you don't have this person as your number 1 hottest woman on the roster, Britt Baker. Britt Baker is the smoke show of your company. And if you say anything different, you're crazy. So there's that. That's the meat and potatoes of this episode. That's the best I can give you on this Friday. Give you a little bit of that entertainment. But thank y'all for watching. Like, share, subscribe, share with your friends. We will see you again with the SmackDown and Raw review on Tuesday, and then another episode Friday, and then Wavy D will be back in a week and a half. So with that, thank y'all for watching. I'll see y'all again on Tuesday.
Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If all I get's a moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. 'Cause lately I've been seeing